What if I told you that autism isn't the root cause of the many struggles that autistic people face, but is instead trauma? And what if I told you that this trauma can occur as early as within the womb? Socialization, the process that teaches us how to navigate relationships and emotions, starts before birth. And when trauma blocks this process, it can set up a ripple effect that shapes the way a person interacts with their world. In this video, I'm going to show how these early experiences lead to the kinds of struggles that so many autistic people face today. Socialization begins before most people realise, before we're even born. A developing baby responds to the rhythms of its mother's heart, her tone of voice, even the emotional energy she carries. These early interactions set up the foundation for an empathizing cognitive style to develop, which is characteristic of neurotypical individuals. It's a way of processing the world that focuses on emotional nuances, relationships, and social intuition. When trauma occurs and a traumatic memory is formed, whether through something the mother experienced and was felt by the fetus, or something the infant directly experienced, this process can be interrupted if the brain designates socialization or aspects of it as being a trigger for the traumatic memory. And depending upon the intensity and nature of the trauma and the type of trigger designated, the socialization process can become partially or completely blocked, and any further traumas experienced after birth intensify that block. So the brain, not having access to the socialization process, has to adapt in a remarkable way. It creates a systemizing cognitive style instead. The systemizing cognitive style is all about patterns and systems and logic rather than emotions and relationships. This is not a weakness, far from it. It's just the brain's way of surviving and thriving when it feels that socialization is inaccessible. But this explains why autistic individuals often struggle with the very skills that come naturally through active participation in the socialization process. The challenges don't just stop at early traumas. For those who are forced to develop a systemizing cognitive style, they also have to cope with trying to navigate through a world that was built for the empathizing cognitive style. Imagine trying to decode facial expressions, tone of voice, or social rules when you've never been taught the language of how to understand them. And add to that the rejections, misunderstandings, and bullying that autistic people often experience because they don't know the social language, then traumas begin to accumulate. Over time, this just creates a ever-increasing downward spiraling cycle. For those who struggle with social interactions, they inevitably end up experiencing social rejection, and social rejection leads to self-doubt and withdrawal. And withdrawal further isolates them from opportunities to practice and learn social skills, which means their struggles with social interactions intensify, leading to more social rejections, and on the cycle goes. But wait, there's more. While all this is going on, their systemizing cognitive style continues to develop in direct response to this isolation. And this just further emphasizes their mismatch with the empathizing world around them, leading to frustrations, misunderstandings, and even more traumas. So what does this cycle of trauma actually create? Well, the struggles that many autistic individuals face tend to fall into one of 7 categories. 1. Social communication difficulties like reading social cues or understanding tone of voice. 2. Language and cognitive processing issues like interpreting abstract language and idioms. 3. Sensory sensitivities and overwhelm, from loud noises to bright lights. 4. Emotional regulation and mental health struggles, including anxiety and depression. 5. The need for structure and routines to feel safe. 6. Executive functioning problems like planning and organisation. 7. Social isolation and the lack of opportunities for connection and success. Now, all of these challenges that autistic people face can be traced back to trauma, and these can be broken down into a further 3 categories. Some of these challenges are the direct result of the initial traumas, and some of these challenges are the result of the lack of social skills due to trauma blocking them from participating in the natural socialization process. And the remaining challenges are the result of trying to live in an empathizing world with a systemizing cognitive style that is the direct result of trauma blocking them from the socialization process. Here's the empowering truth. These challenges aren't an inherent part of autism. They're the result of trauma. When we can understand that trauma blocks the socialization process and forces the brain to adapt in remarkable ways, we can begin to address the root causes. We can help autistic people not only heal, but to thrive. Over the next 7 videos, I'm going to be diving deeper into each one of these 7 categories, exploring how trauma shapes them, and more importantly, how healing is possible. The next video, video 2, will be about social communication difficulties. So if you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on a single video in this 9-part series. Because believe me, if I can show you that every single one of your challenges that you face on the spectrum is the result of trauma, it will change everything for you. Because even though it is considered that autism can't be cured, trauma is highly treatable. So what if only 25% of your challenges are the result of trauma? How big a difference would that make in your life to get rid of that 25%? What about if it's 50% that are the result of trauma? How big a difference would that make in your life? What about 75%? How huge a difference would that make in your life? And God forbid, what if 100% of them are caused by trauma? That changes everything for you completely. So stick with me through all 9 videos, because I'm telling you, it'll blow your mind and change everything for you. If this video has piqued your interest, then I'll put a link in the description below to one of my blog posts, Understanding Autism, a deep dive into the dual states of consciousness and trauma-based development. It'll give you a better understanding of how trauma underpins autism. And if you find that these ideas really resonate with you and you want to learn more, then this video up here will probably give you deeper insights.